Good morning. I'm excited about today because it's where the magic starts to happen, and that is teaching classes and teaching one-on-ones. And you will notice today that I look brighter. That is because I have a lovely light. I'll show you my lights. Don't judge my messy room. See? Ooh, isn't that nice and fancy? That way it's not so dark when I do my webinars now. So I picked a lovely day to showcase my face when I wear no makeup. So you get to see the real and raw me. So we're going to really be utilizing the Share Success website today because I really like all the tools and resources that it has, especially for teaching a class. So, this week you have been focused on, this last week you were focusing on setting up a class and inviting people to your class. And I'm hoping that that went really well for you because honestly, there's a lot of activities and time that you can spend in your business that don't really help get you anywhere. What I would always do is look at what you're doing and say, am I getting enrollments from this? And are people doing LRP and are people ordering from this? And I would literally try to track down, don't spend time like tracking literally, don't spend too much time on this. But what I'm trying to say is if you're doing things it's like if you're doing tons of personal development and you're still stuck at the same rank, or you're doing tons of online activity and you're still stuck at the same rank, I would investigate and look at ways to further your business. So how to go meet people in person or turn your online activity into income producing activities where you're actually getting enrollments, people on LRP, and people ordering. So I really want to make sure that, as you're doing this launch training, that you're focusing on things that are helping you grow your business so that you can move forward and create an income, because that's the beauty of doTERRA. All right, so I want to show you guys, first of all, what I do. When I get ready to teach a class, it's all about having the right tools. So I have taught multiple classes, and I have, I'm not even sharing my screen. Bless my heart. Let me share my screen with you. But I have taught multiple classes, and I have totally forgotten tear pads. I have totally forgotten, hang on a second, I'm distracted. I'm trying to get this to share my screen. Okay. There we go. Okay, I've totally forgotten tear pads before. I've totally forgotten order forms. I forgot my oils once. And that's because I left my oils at the airport. Literally, I left in every oil set at the airport. Luckily, I forgot to pick my suitcase up. Bless my heart. And luckily, the airport just put it in the baggage office, and when I flew out of the airport, they were able to give me my oils back, which was nice. But I have forgotten diffusers. I've forgotten a lot of things. So it's really important that you have the right tools with you all the time. And, one thing that I learned that has saved me money is creating a master class set. So initially, I was printing off forms, and I would just reprint the same forms for every single class. And I remember at the end of the class going around and picking up the forms off the couch where people were sitting, and I'm like, dang it, they wrinkled that form. I can't use it again. And I'd be frustrated. And, I would think, oh man, I just wasted, these forms. And so with this, it's really important, or, one thing I loved about it is that I'm reusing the same thing over and over. So we're going to go on a little field trip because I forgot to grab it before we started. Get a tour of my rental house that I have here in Kansas City. It's got nice blue walls. Now we're walking into my bathroom. Now we're going into my closet. Sorry, I wasn't intending to forget doing this, but I just have, and one great thing that you can use are the backpacks that doTERRA gives you for convention. Those are really great ways to put, I like to call it a class in a bag. So I get a backpack and I buy a diffuser that I feel comfortable just leaving in my backpack. So I want you to buy one that you can always keep in the same bag so that you don't forget a diffuser at your class. I have forgotten a diffuser so many times that I can't even count. Now, this was the old me before I had my class in the bag. So I'm hoping you guys can see this okay. But I just get a backpack. So I brought my two backpacks. I get a backpack, and in my backpack, and you can do a bag as well, I put a diffuser in there. Now, I have chosen to use doTERRA's pedal diffuser because it's in several of the kits that you can get. So I have a pedal diffuser that's always in the bag. Now, you can get, they have little $12, $13, $14 diffusers that you can get on Amazon, and if that fits your budget right now, do it. I wouldn't overextend on your budget for sure. If you're feeling like this is a financial stress for me, I don't ever want it to feel like that. So get a diffuser that you can feel comfortable only just leaving in your bag. I don't use mine because other than at my classes, because if I do, there's a chance I'll forget to put it back in my bag, and then it defeats the purpose of having my class in a bag. Now, I have a case that has oils in it. This was the very first case that I bought for my oils. It's about 6 years old, and I have lots of fond memories. So I have 16 oils in here, and I pick oils that I frequently talk about in class. So I like to have the home essential, what is it, the family home essential kit now? The family essential kit. They renamed the family physician kit, and it's now called the family essential kit. But I have all of those oils in there. So I have lemon, lavender, peppermint, frankincense, oregano, melaleuca, brie, on guard, digestin, and deep blue. So I have those, but I also have some of the mood oils that I talk about a lot. So I have balance in there. I have slim and sassy, purify, terra shield, helichrysum, and then wild orange. So and a lot of times I take this with me when I travel, so I'll put oils in there that I know that I'm going to be using on that particular trip. So I have my case with oils in it. And the next thing I have is I went and got a bunch of folders. I'm trying to make this so that you can see this okay. And a lot of you guys may be doing this, but some of you may not. And so I want to give you some really great tips on what I've done that's saved me money and it saved me time. So when I do classes now, I literally grab my bag, I go out the door, and I'm ready for my class. I don't have to spend a ton of time making sure everything's there. I have it with me already. So I got plastic sheet protectors, and I'm showing this upside down. But I get plastic sheet protectors, and I got the Natural Solutions tear pad, and I cut it up. So I put each page in a sheet protector. And the reason I did that is so that I can give everybody, which I always carry in my bag with me, wet erase markers. Someone once made fun of me and said, "Wet erase markers, what are those?" Well, they're what they used to use in old school for the overhead pins. So I like wet erase because they only wipe off when you get them wet. So I use this, and people fill out their order form literally on top of the sheet protector, on top of the form. So that way I reuse the same forms over and over and over. I update these once a year. So it has saved me so much time, and it has saved me so much money, because I used to buy a tear pad for every single class I was doing. And I mean, I would get 2 or 3 classes out of it, but that was a lot more expensive than just buying one tear pad and doing the same, doing the same class multiple times with the same thing. Now, the other thing that I put in there is I like to get a little Modern Essentials book. It's a little mini Modern Essentials, and I put it in the back pocket. And the reason I do that is I want people to be able to reference during the class a book so that they can see how easy it is to use the oils. So those are the tools that I always have on hand with me when I teach. So it's important to have the right tools. Now, getting equipped for your business, a lot of people will think, oh my gosh, this takes so much money. And the truth of it is, it's not a lot of money at all, because I look at my husband's business and I look at my business, and our commission checks are this. Well, I mean, he has employees and a business partner, but I actually, my personal commission check that I take home matches that of his business. But mind you, he has to pay a computer programmer. He makes a 6-figure income. He has to pay my mom, who's also his business partner. He has to pay, they just hired an account manager. They pay her. They have to pay for, they have overhead. And even their overhead is fairly minimal. And, my husband's business is excellent. But I look at their overhead compared to mine, and I'm like, I think I bought like $100 worth of stuff to get started. I mean, I got an enrollment kit, and then I spent like $100 getting sample bottles, tear pads, a diffuser. That is like such a low overhead for the amazing business opportunity that doTERRA is. Now, I once posted, and I need to find it, and I can post it for you guys again, that I figured that it costs $100 to start a business. This is outside of your initial investment from oils. But you can buy sample bottles, you can buy a diffuser, you can buy a tear pad, and you can buy like the wellness consult forms that we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. But I bought all of that stuff, and I spent you can get started for $100, and I make a multiple 6-figure income. So how amazing it is that's the type of overhead that you have for this magnitude of a business. So it's just an incredible trade-off. So if you're ever feeling like, oh man, this is getting so expensive, well, I'll show you the numbers that my husband spends keeping his business running and the numbers I spend keeping my business running. And I get to keep my whole commission check, and he has to split his and my business partners in overhead. So this really is an excellent, excellent business opportunity. So that's what I want to talk to you about in my class in the bag. So literally I put everything that I need for my class in a bag. Now, another thing that I do is I like to book classes off of classes. And again, we will cover that in a couple of weeks. But in my bag, I always take with me some incentives for people to sign up to host classes in the future. So I have everything that I need for a class in my backpack so that at any given time, I can go do my class and be ready to go. Okay, so this is just a list of what I have. And I do like to bring one big Modern Essentials book or the Oil Life book, whatever book that it is that you like to personally use. So that's what I bring with me so that I can have, like those little mini Modern Essentials are good, but I like the big one just so that way there's a more comprehensive list of things that the oils can help with. All right, so that's a great question. Are you giving the attendees the mini Modern Essentials book? No, I don't. In fact, I write my name on all of them and I just let everybody know, this actually stays with the folder. So, if you'll please return it to that back pocket when we're done with the class, that would be so awesome. Then that way, the next time someone uses this, they'll have it there. So, and for me, I could give them a gift of a book for enrolling, and you can even choose to do that. You could even just say, hey, if you want to enroll tonight, you can keep this little mini Modern Essentials book so that you can go home with something, you're not going home empty handed just because your package will be mailed to you later. You could do that. I personally keep my books and, that way I don't have to, mine is a simplicity thing and I don't want to have to refill my folders over and over. So that was an excellent question. So that's just the list of what I have. And I will even get that, I'll find that list again and I will post it for you. And it even gives you links of where you can buy like your sheet protectors, your wet erase markers, your everything that you'll need. So today we're going to spend a lot of time going through the launch guide and as well as the Share Success site. So you will notice, in fact, we're going to go there right now, that I absolutely love all of the resources that they have when it comes to hosting a class. So if you just go to sharesuccess.com, I don't feel like I'm spelling this right. I'm not. There we go. Okay, so if you go to sharesuccess.com, you will notice that they have a piece of material for every bit of your business. So learning, this is the Natural Solutions handout. Now, this is the particular handout that I use when I teach. And you can buy it at Aroma Tools or you can buy it at Oil Life. I personally buy like a set of 20 and then I make my folders with them. I always keep some extras just in case I have a really big class, but I just literally put this all in a sheet protector so that I can reuse them over and over. So if you click on Learn, you will get to see a bigger version of the Natural Solutions. You can download the view of the class. Now, here's the cool thing. If you want to see a class or see how they've designed this class, you can go through and watch the entire video or the entire class. So there's an intro that you could watch. There's this is a doTERRA sponsored video called Ready for Anything. And you can watch that. You could watch the section on which natural solutions would you trust, which natural solutions would you choose. But you'll notice that there is literally a class that you can watch just on this website, which is great so that you can learn more about how to teach your own class. So it'll help you to be really prepared. So that's a really good resource. Now, once, and we'll talk next week, once you're getting your enrollments, you're going to use this Live Guide. Once you're doing your wellness consults, you're going to do a Share Guide to invite them to host, then a Build Guide, and then we're going through our Launch Guide. So we're going to click on the Launch Guide, and we're going to talk about the section on teaching a class and how to teach an effective class. Now, I'm going to offer some bonus material today. I'm going to be doing a class on Thursday evening, and it will be at 8:00 p.m., and it will just be an online class. So in fact, you're welcome. If you have people that don't live near you or people that are out of state, I'm going to do that class Thursday, and it'll be 8 p.m. Central Time. So it'll be 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. California Time, and 9 p.m. East Coast Time. So I realize that's a little bit late, but the great thing is that I will show you how I teach my class. Even though it's just an online class, I'll show you how the flow goes when I go through that TerraPad. And you can invite people to that class. So like, let's say that you've been wanting to share this with your mom, but she lives in another state, or you have a cousin that lives somewhere else, you're welcome to log on and have them listen to this class. So it'll be a really great way for you to see how I teach and share the oils with somebody that may not live near you. So we're going to open up our launch guide. And today we're going to be going over pages 12 through 14, which it was already on there and I started it over. So you've been planning your classes, which is amazing. Now this is kind of how I like things to work. The first time that let's say that I'm getting a new business builder started that wants to do their own class. Well, I mean, if you're going to do the business, you've got to learn how to teach. the first class that I do, I teach the entire class for the business builder myself. The next class, I invite them to teach a portion on how to use the oils. The third class, I have them do the open, teach how to use the oils, and I close the class. And in the fourth class, they teach the whole thing by themselves. And then that way they're ready to teach on their own, which is amazing. Sorry, you guys are getting all of my pop-ups from my email. So you've been inviting your people, sharing your samples, and now we're getting to the point that we are going to have successful presentations. So the important thing about doing this business is making sure that you're getting in front of people and actually teaching them. So if it's a one-on-one, that's great. I know some people I know presidential diamonds that have built their way to presidential just doing one-on-ones. Of course, they know how to teach classes, but for them personally, they've done a lot of one-on-ones, but they're doing a lot of one-on-ones every single week. They do a lot, being able to do a class is really important, but just knowing your material and being able to share it. Now, don't let it intimidate you if you're just starting out and you're thinking, I don't know if I can teach a class. I don't know all the information I need to know. That's okay. The first time I taught my part of a class is Teresa Harding, who enrolled me, came to town. I was in Idaho Falls, and she said, okay, I'm going to have you teach. And I was so excited because I felt really cool because I was going to be teaching, and I had no idea, what I was going to be teaching. She literally, this was back when we used PowerPoints more frequently for teaching. And there was a new oil on every slide, and it was kind of like this drill of, okay, Jen, what does this oil do? Okay, Jen, what does this oil do? And I was like, this is like, I feel like I'm in a trivia game. But I literally went through and told people how to use the essential oils. And I felt so cool teaching on my own. But I definitely don't want you guys to ever feel like it's like baptism by fire where you're like under pressure to all of a sudden teach. That's something that I can actually do okay with in terms of like, it doesn't freak me out too bad. But other people, that might make you nervous. So I would make sure that you are well prepared to teach your class. So if you're feeling nervous and feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this on my own, and your upline is not near you, you can use, so it says make use of your upline and the Natural Solutions DVD for support for your first few classes as you learn to present effectively. So there's a Natural Solutions DVD that you can order, and you can order on the Share Success website. Oh, Jody has it. Awesome, Jody. So you can use that to help supplement your class when you're feeling like, oh man, I don't know all the information that I need. I use the Natural Solutions class handout. Now, you can use the handout that benefits you, that you feel like benefits you the most. This is personally the one that I like, but that doesn't mean there's not other good ones out there. There's some excellent ones out there. So if you like the Edge Tear Pad, that's great. You can use that one. There's so many different ones. I can't keep track of them all now, but use a class that you feel confident teaching and a flow that you're like, okay, I can do this. I feel good about this. So make sure that you have something that you like to teach from. So I'm just letting you know what I use, but that doesn't mean it's like the gospel truth and it's what you have to use as well. So the other important thing is that you're letting the attendees experience the oils during your class. So I will, from the get-go, like when I start teaching my class, and you'll notice this when I teach my class on Thursday night that you guys are welcome to listen to and invite people to, I always get oils in their hands right away. And I'll say, you know what? My first essential oil that I ever experienced was balance. And I'll pass around balance and I'll show them how to use it. So I get them using the oils very quickly so that they can see, here's how I put an oil on and here's how I use it. So make sure that you let the attendees experience the oils because it is a very important part of the class. Now, the next important thing is make sure you keep your class under an hour. Don't be doing 2-hour-long classes. People will be bored. And not only that, but a lot of times they have to leave and they're leaving before you've even had a chance to close. So, and I used to go to classes in the beginning of doTERRA. I felt like the classes were all about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Okay. I am Miss ADD over here. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to teach that because I can't teach a 2-hour-long class. I will lose I don't have an attention span for that. People there don't have the attention span. So even if you feel like it's great content and people are engaged, keep it under an hour for sure. There is a time when you can do your wellness consults, you can do one-on-ones at a later date, but for your actual class, keep it under an hour. And we're going to walk through how long you should spend on each section. And you want to make sure that when you're teaching that your people that leave feel like, wow, I could teach that class. So Melody Watts is a presidential diamond who's on my team, and I enrolled her about 5 years ago. But I remember her first classes that she was teaching. I was like, Melody, you are so smart and you are so amazing, but nobody can teach the way you teach. And she was like, oh man, you're totally right. And it's been so fun to watch her teach a class that's really duplicable that people can now think, oh, I could leave teaching that. You don't ever want anybody leaving your class thinking, wow, they are so smart. And it's not that we don't want to have people thinking we're smart, but if people are like, oh my gosh, they're so smart, I could never do that, that's not a good thing. You want people thinking, wow, and I get this comment all the time about myself. If Jenn Oldham can do this, I can do this. So you really want people thinking, you know what, I could teach a class just like that. And you're teaching really clear, simple, concise information. And there's a time and a place for an excellent doTERRA essential oil knowledge, but don't have it be at your first intro class where people, because it will intimidate people and it will be hard to get them to teach their own classes. So you want to make sure that your attendees are prepared before you come to class. So you'll notice, if you have not prepared your attendees by sharing a sample or an experience before the class, that oftentimes, and the class is their first exposure to the oils, a lot of times they won't enroll at the class. So getting oils on them before they come is really important. So before the presentation, here are some tips: is study the Natural Solutions DVD, learn to share the value of products using stories throughout. So, when I teach my classes, I always apply like the section of the class, I always have a story that I can tie in. And that's like another reason that you'll see what I do on Thursdays, so that you can see how I integrate stories throughout my presentation. And, one thing that you can do that does help you to have a successful class, and it is a little bit more work on your end, but it will also yield better results, is if you have somebody hosting the class for you, or even if you're hosting the class for yourself, is get in contact with those that are coming to the class and just say, you know what, I'm so excited for you to come to the class on Thursday night. And in fact, I want to make sure that this information is a match for what you need personally right now. So do you have any goals with your health or solutions that you're looking for with your health that you want me to cover in class? So, and if they're like, I don't know what that means, you could, how are you doing with allergies or seasonal threats, I should say, or, immune support. Are you wanting a natural form of immune support? You want something that will help, promote feelings of calm in your life. So you can just find out what their needs are before the class, because it'll get them excited, and then you can be well prepared. Like if you're, for example, you don't want to go teach a class to a room full of men and talk all about your experiences being a mom. Those experiences are going to be best suited for when you're teaching a class full of moms. So you want to know your audience and gear your stories and experiences to things that are relevant to them. And I love that this says, write down your intentions for each presentation. I love going into a class thinking, okay, I want 2 enrollments. I want 200 PV in volume from this class. I want to get 1 class booked that will be on the calendar when I leave that class. So what do you want to have happen at each class? And then make sure that you keep anything that you do really simple. The first time my mother-in-law did a class, it was an amazing class, and it was very high volume. I had invited a lot of Richard's aunts to the class, and she made it so complex. It was awesome. She had amazing food, but I want to tell you, she probably spent $300 or $400 just on the food for her class. She had deli meats, she had cheeses, she had bread. My mother-in-law's an artist. She went and she drew, she made coloring pages that were related to essential oils for the kids that came. So it was amazing, but after the class, I was like, hey, do you want to do another class? And she was like, no way. She was so burnt out from that one class. So you want to make sure that what you do is simple, so that you think, you know what, I could do another class next week. Not a problem. So that's getting ready for your class and some things to think about before you do a class. Now, when you do a class, if you are the one hosting, you will want to make sure that you introduce your presenter. Now, one of the great things that you can do is ask the presenter. You could even ask them, a couple of days before, hey, can you give me write out an introduction for yourself, so that I make sure that I introduce you appropriately at the class that we're doing. So you want to make sure that you're introducing and edifying the presenter. And what that means is you're introducing them and you're letting people know why they're an awesome presenter and why that it's a pleasure to have them at your class. So your introduction needs to be about 5 minutes. You don't want to spend 3 hours telling your first story. And, one thing that I did hear is crying during class is great, but don't cry during the introduction, because people are going to be like, this girl is an emotional mess. I don't even know who she is, and she's crying. So you want to have a chance to connect with your audience before getting emotional. And sometimes these stories are so emotional because they've changed our lives so, so much. So, make sure, try to tell stories that are, and crying is just fine. Just, at the end is a better time, just because people are going to feel like more connected, and they're going to feel more in touch with what you're saying. Not just, I don't even know what an oil is, and now this girl's up here crying, and I don't even know what's going on. So during your class, tell a story that you can stay emotionally stable through your story. Stable, that sounds kind of mean. But just where you can keep emotions intact before when you're teaching your story. So now, if you're the presenter, this gives you a list of what you're going to do. If you're hosting your own class, you can give an introduction. Again, you can express your gratitude to be there, share why you're teaching. I love teaching essential oil classes because I know how helpful it was for me when I was looking for something to help me with my anxieties. So I love to teach classes because I know there are people out there looking for natural solutions for anxieties and other health concerns. And it is so fun to be able to go out and teach classes and to be able to introduce people to something that's going to be so helpful for their life in their life. That's why I share what I do. It's as simple as that. And I love sharing your intention. Of course, you're not sharing the intention of, I'm going to get 2 enrollments and one of you guys is going to host a class. I'm talking about the intention of, our intention is to learn what essential oils are, how to use them, and the best way to get them in your home. As we go through the class, you'll naturally think of others who need these solutions. And you can write their names down as I'm talking so that you can teach them what you've learned tonight. And if you can see yourself doing what I'm doing as I'm doing this, go ahead and talk to me after the class. So it can be an intention like that, not necessarily I'm going to make $500 off you suckers. You don't want anything like that. Now, so the first part, the intro, and I like that they've labeled this tear pad. But the first one is the intro. So you go through the intro, and if you want to talk about the history of the essential oils, that's great. And if you're wondering, I don't really know how to introduce the history of oils, if you go to the Learn section on Share Success, it will teach you exactly how to do the intro. And it can be super simple. So you're going to spend 10 minutes on the expand section, which is page 1. So you're going to do your intro for 5 minutes, and then you're going to spend 10 minutes on the second and third sections, I should say. So the history of the oils, and then the oils being natural, effective, and safe. So you're 15 minutes once you've finished the first page. Now, the second and third page is you're talking about how to use the essential oils. So I always go through, you'll notice section 4 is how to use the oils. So I show them how to use them aromatically, topically, and internally. And I like to talk about the oils with each section. So like if I talk about using them aromatically, I'll talk about wild orange and peppermint. I love what it does for my mood. I love what it does to reduce toxins from the air in my own home. So that's part of the reason I diffuse. And I love it what it does to support my respiratory system. So I'll go ahead and pass out wild orange and peppermint for everybody to try. Then I'll talk about topical. Now, I've had some people even say, hey, is there anybody who's feeling head tension right now? And they'll pass around some past tense right then and there, get oils on people in the class, which is great. And then talk about using the oils internally. You can have lemon water at your class so people can experience the internal usage of essential oils and see that lemon is actually really tasty in your water. So you'll spend 20 minutes talking about how to use them and then talking about the wellness pyramid. Now, the wellness pyramid is just a little section right here that talks about all the things you need to be doing in your life to stay healthy. And it's more than just eating healthy, exercising, or sleeping. You can't just do any one of those things and be like, why am I not healthy? I'm getting 8 hours of sleep a night. Well, that's great, but you need to be eating right, exercising, reducing toxic load, resting, managing stress. So it just walks you through what you need to do to be healthy, and it allows your guests to go through and rate where they are with each section. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you feel like you're doing when it comes to healthy eating? If they're like at a 2 out of a 10, then you can say, here are some products that you might want to try that will help support better eating. Maybe they're not exercising, or maybe they are exercising and their legs are so sore, they have sore muscles. Talk about products that support exercising. A lot of people will check that their rest and managing stress they need support. They need some more support with that. And again, that gives you an opportunity to go through and walk them through the products that would help them rest better and manage stress. And we now have the amazing Restful Complex. I take 2 of those Serenity pills every single night because it's absolutely amazing. And then I talk about proactive healthcare or informed self-care. So I go through and talk about how to take care of things as they come up. And I show them how to use the book. Someone just asked about dilution, and I actually honestly never really even talk about dilution in my classes. I'll let them know, like, you can definitely dilute with coconut oil, and for babies and sensitive skin, that's a good idea. But the truth of it is, I don't dilute very often in my house, and so sometimes I don't talk about it as much. Of course, if I would never put oregano on my baby without diluting it first, and I'll mention it that simple, but I keep things really simple, because I don't want people leaving the class thinking, okay, I have to dilute it, I have to do this and that, look, these oils are safe, they're effective, they're amazing. When you're going to start using them on young skin or even just on your skin, you can go ahead and use some coconut oil just to make sure that it's not going to irritate your skin. In terms of the drops or how much they use, I don't ever go into specifics like that, just because I find I usually am just teaching you're using a drop or two every time you're using the oils. So I keep it super simple so people don't feel overwhelmed and realize, you know what, these are very simple and very safe. So, okay, we go through the application, the wellness pyramid, and then we talk about health priorities. So that's section 6 of this. Now, this is a really powerful point of the class. That is when I literally pause and just have everybody write down their top 3 health concerns or their goals, or call them health priorities on here. And then I have them go through that little booklet in the back of their folder, and they write down the solutions right there in the book so that they can see, wow, it's really that easy. For head tension, I'd use past tense. For seasonal threats, I would use lemon, lavender, peppermint. For stomach discomfort, I would use digestin. So they're writing down their goals, and then they're looking themselves at what solutions would be beneficial for them. And I give them a few minutes in class, because a lot of times if I ask them to do it without pausing and giving them a moment to do it, I find that they don't write anything down. A lot of times they're not writing in their folders. And so if I stop, they have to write in their folders because they'll realize that everyone else is doing it. Now, after they write their priorities, I ask if anybody wants to share theirs, to say, would anybody like to raise their hand and share what they have written down? And I can show you exactly what you would do. So we talk about their health priorities. Now, the solutions, I also like to talk about 5, and I usually pick 5 to 8 oils that I'm going to talk about. You want to make sure you're not fire hosing people. When you come into your class, bring your basic oils. You don't need to bring the emotions kit, the touch kit, the entire set of oils, lifelong vitality. If you do that, people are going to leave being like, I'm really overwhelmed, or wow, I have to buy so much stuff to get these to work. So I like to keep it simple. Now, I do have one thing I do bring with me, which I don't know if it's in here, so I'm making a liar out of myself right now. But I bring with me, I do have an every oil kit, like a sample of every oil, so that if somebody's getting ready to order and they want to know what spearmint smells like, I have a sample of it for them. So I bring with me the oils that I'm going to talk about, and I pick of those oils 5 to 8 that I'm going to talk about. Now, I do recommend talking about lifelong vitality at every class, especially months like this where it's the promotion where you can get it for free. I show people how to use the oils, and I pass every oil that I talk about, I pass it around and show them how to use it and tell them they're welcome to try it. And then again, you can share the benefits in bullet points relating to the wellness pyramid. So you can say, you know what, this is the new Serenity Complex, and this is amazing because this is going to help you rest and manage your stress effectively. If you're getting a good night's sleep, anxiety, like the amount of anxiety that you feel is going to really decrease. You're going to be able to just tackle life's problems so much easier, if you're getting sleep at night. So this is what I've loved about the Serenity, and I'll pass around the Serenity so they can try it. And this just gives you some things that you can do. Now, the close, we're going to talk next week specifically about closing. Closing is so important. And one thing I'll talk about next week is there's 2 closes. You do one close when you're closing the whole class. Like in front of everybody, you'll just say, I always explain to people how to get the oils. There's 2 ways that you can get the oils, but the way that I'm going to talk about tonight is the way that's going to save you the most money, because I'm sure that everybody here wants to get the best deal on the oils. So then I'll talk about how to get wholesale. It's like a Costco membership. You pay a one-time $35 fee, and then you can purchase oils whenever you want for the duration of for the next calendar year at wholesale price, which is 25% off retail. So you're getting a huge discount. Now, the amazing thing about doTERRA is they don't require you to order monthly. There's not a minimum that you have to order monthly, and you don't have to order monthly. But the amazing thing is they have another program that allows you to save even more money if you do choose to order monthly. And for my family, this is a lifestyle change. And so we absolutely do need these oils in our home on a monthly basis. And I can show you more about that a little bit later. But for now, I want to talk about exactly how to get these oils for the best deal in your home right now. So wholesale membership is definitely the best way to get the cost down on your oils. And the other thing that you can do is get a discount package. So doTERRA has gone in and put together their most popular oils in discount packages. And you can see them, here they are right here. And I'll pick 2 discount packages that I like to talk about. And I don't always just talk about the cheapest one, because I love the Natural Solutions kit and I love the Home Essentials kit. And they've come out with another kit, and I don't remember the name of it right now, but it has like the probiotic in it. It's got the Lifelong Vitality. It's got a Family Essential kit in there, which is amazing. So talk about the 2 kits that you think that are your favorites, so that you can talk about, why people would want to get the kits. So you're going to review briefly the kits. Now, the thing I like about this TerraPad that I use is it has a list of the kits in there, and it has the price list. So you have everything all at once that you're handing everybody all at once. So I go through and explain, how to get started. And then I'll just tell them, here's the form that you fill out. And what I want you to do is go ahead and fill out anything that's highlighted in blue. It's just like anything ink. If you order something online, the exact same information. So go ahead and fill that out. And then I'm going to come around and help each one of you identify exactly which oils or which discount package is the best option for you. So that's when I do my second close, is when I go and meet individually with everybody that's there. But I have them go ahead and fill out the form while they're waiting so that we can get them started. So that's how I close my class. And, you really want to make sure that you are closing your class. I've taught classes where I've said, no one needs to buy anything. And guess how many people bought something? Nothing, nobody. I do want people to have oils in their homes. And I remember camping 2 years ago, and this little girl came up and she's like, Mom, I scraped my knee. And her mom was like, let's get you some Tylenol. And I'm thinking, no, there's natural solutions we can use that are going to be easier on your child's system, So I want people having these oils. I want them. It's fun to see other people use essential oils. So I want these oils in their homes. So when I teach my class, I do close. I'm not like doing a hard sell where nobody can leave if they purchase anything. But my goal is to teach a class where people are going to be like, wow, I want that in my home. I want to live the lifestyle that she's living. I want to, I want those experiences. So how do I get these in my home? So that's my goal for when I'm teaching my classes. And I always mention the business at the end of my classes. And I'll tell people, I know you're here to learn about essential oils, so I want to make sure that I'm very honorable, or that I honor and respect your time. But I do want to spend 2 minutes telling you a little bit about the business and why it's something that I'm so passionate about. And I'll share an aspect of the business that I love, and I'll just let them know, you know what? If you're just feeling like, man, I want to share this with other people. I want to be able to help other people take their health in their own hands and have some really empowering experiences. This is a great business opportunity, and I would love to talk with you about that. Like, I would love to share some more about how you would get going with this, because this is a really rewarding opportunity. So I definitely mentioned changing lives and doing the business, and then we go through how to get signed up. So next week, we're going to talk more about the keys for closing and some of the objections that you face in your class. So if you have done classes already and you're running into the same thing over and over, we'll play Stump Jen next week. So bring the things that people same things you keep running into over and over, and reasons people aren't enrolling. And we'll brainstorm together ideas of how we can move past those and get people to see that doTERRA really is an excellent opportunity to engage in. So that is how I teach my class. Now, I do at the end, I will always offer, like you can do something. I have a girl on my team who likes to play Dill or No Dill. So she literally brings a bunch of envelopes, and in the envelopes, she has a gift written on each one. And I have the same thing in mine. I have a gift written in each one of my envelopes that I'm willing to give away. And I'll show people the gifts. I'll say, okay, you'll notice there's an On Guard toothpaste. There's a deep blue rub. I have a lip balm. So we're going to play Dill or No Dill. Now, here's the deal. If you would like to host a class and you're willing to pick a date that we can have your class, and your class can be super simple. You can invite your mom and 2 or 3 of your friends. So really easy. Have it at your house. I'll do all the work. You're just going to invite. So what I'm going to do is pass around an envelope, and there's a free gift in each envelope. So I'll hand you an envelope, and if you want to play, you'll say deal, and you can open the envelope and see what you're going to get for hosting your class. Now, if you're not ready to host a class yet, or not ready to commit to a date, then you'll hand your envelope back. So there's no deal. So if anybody would like an envelope, I'm going to go ahead and pass them out, and you're welcome to keep it and see what you're going to get for hosting a class. And then I have the gifts right then and there that I can give them just for booking their class and getting it. I don't give it to them unless they've booked their class and it's on the calendar right then and there. So, and then I thank whoever it is, whoever hosted the class. I thank them for allowing me to teach. And then I go around and I work with everybody individually and help them select what oils they want to get. So ta-da, there's my class. That's how I do my class. And you'll get to see exactly how I word things when we do my class on Thursday night. Now, this next week, week 5, we're going to talk about closing, because closing is such an important part, and it's something that takes time and experience. So if you feel like you're not getting as many enrollments right away, that's okay. You'll get there. I've had classes, and I still have classes where, there are times when nobody enrolls, and you're feeling like, oh man, this is such a bummer. And it is a bummer, but it's okay. So some things to remember for your class. Check my chat. Okay, stump Jen. Okay, so can you clarify the deal or no deal? What are you giving away? I have gifts that I'm willing to give away for hosting a class, and I try to keep them under $10. I do keep one nicer thing in there, like deep blue rub, and just say, you could get this deep blue rub, you could get this bottle of On Guard, and then there's a bottle of lemon, TerraShield. But I have everything I'm willing to give away is written on a piece of paper in an envelope. So I'm absolutely ready and prepared to give away anything I've displayed. And it's just a matter if that's what happens to be in their envelope. Now, I have a slide that says, don't worry, because I want to talk about this. You will have no-shows. And just because you have no-shows does not mean that you're not cut out for this business or it doesn't work. It just means it happens for all of us. My first 3 classes were no-shows, and the person that was helping me lived in Utah, and I lived in Idaho, and she was driving 4 hours to teach for me, and I had 3 no-shows in a row. Now, luckily, I was teaching with somebody else, or I was doing a class with somebody else, and so other people were bringing people, and they, unlike me, got people to come to the class. So you want to do your best to avoid no-shows, and don't set yourself up for it by, maybe in doing the same class the same day of the week, inviting the same people. Well, yeah, you're going to have no-shows. If you're finding that people aren't showing up, get out and meet more people. That is the key to this business, is being willing to get out there in person in particular and go meet people. That's when you're going to succeed. That's when you're going to get more people in your pipeline. So, if I set up classes and it's like, I better go meet some people to invite. You will learn as you go. You will make mistakes. You will say things that you're like, I totally said that wrong. And that's okay. You're learning as you're going. I mean, what other career are you extremely proficient at in a week? Nothing. It takes time. There's a learning curve. In fact, Roger Harding, he's Teresa Harding's husband, was telling a story to my team. He's like, I heard Jen doing a webinar at our house, her first year of doing the business, and it was pretty rough. And I was laughing. I was like, thanks, Roger. He's like, but it's great because she's come so far since then. So you know what? I didn't ruin my business, and I've created a successful business, even though I said the wrong things, probably yelled at the wrong people, or did everything all wrong. But you'll learn as you go. And as long as you're committed to trying, like if something's not working and you're willing to say, you know what, that's not working, I'm going to try something new, you're going to succeed for sure. And you don't need to know everything for your first class. A lot of people are really nervous to teach that first class because they don't know everything. I don't know that I would consider myself like an extreme essential oil guru. I'm very familiar with using what I use, and I do use a lot of oils, but there are people out there that know far more than me. In almost every class, I get a question that I don't know the answer to, and it doesn't make me nervous. It doesn't freak me out. I just say, you know what? Let me ask my friend so-and-so, and I'll get back to you on that, because I want to make sure that I get you a good, solid answer. So never be afraid to tell people that you don't know, but that you'll find out, or say, I'm not sure, but here's where you can look to find that answer. So don't wait to do a class until you know everything, because you'll never end up doing a class that way. And it's okay, because you still can be successful not knowing everything. A good teacher is somebody that will teach you where to find your own answers and your own resources, because so then you can learn for yourself. So don't worry, and don't be feeling stressed out like, I can't do this, or people aren't going to show up. You're right. You know what? You will have times when people don't show up, and that's okay. Okay, so this week, I want you to keep finding new people. That really is the key to this business. So find 5 people to share a sample of this week. I am taking a sample over to my neighbor lady today. And I'm going to go over and meet the mom of this little boy that comes over every day. I'm not going to have a sample per se right then and there with me, because I want my intention to be meeting her. But you better believe if she asks, when I tell her, my husband and I work from home, and she asks what I do, I'm going to tell her about doTERRA, and there's a really good chance that she's that she's going to end up with a sample. Meaning, like, she doesn't have an account, she hasn't heard of it, has never tried them. I'm going to say, you know what? Let me bring some samples for you to try. And I'll bring her some samples. So I'm going to go out and meet people today so that I can find people to share samples with. And I'm taking a sample to my next door neighbor lady because she has never even used oils before. This is exciting for me. So I want you to find 5 people this week to share with. And then I want you to find one new way of meeting people. So maybe go find a booth to sign up for, maybe a meetup, or maybe you're going to write down a list of all the midwives in the area and you're going to start calling them and seeing if you can bring them a sample of essential oils. But find one new way of meeting people this week, and then make sure you have your class material ready to go so that you're ready to teach your class. And then I want you to find one more class that you're going to teach within the next 30 days. So identify either a host or set one up for yourself, because you're going to be meeting people and you're going to be able, you need a class to invite them to. So that's why I want you to set up a class that you're going to be teaching within the next 30 days. I'm going to be setting up my own class as well. I have a booth that I'm doing. I also am handing out my samples, and I'm going to get a class set up for here in Kansas City that I'm going to invite my own personal contacts to. So if you're lucky and you live by me, I'll invite you too. So those are your assignments this week. And this week I'm giving away a bottle of frankincense and helichrysum. I'm giving you really nice oils for doing lots of assignments. So that's the assignments for this week. And Apollo Garcia won last week. She got 100 PV of my favorite fall oils, as well as a diffuser. So that's awesome. And then next week we'll announce our next winner, and frankincense and helichrysum are up for grabs, people. Those are like a big deal. And I will tell you that helichrysum is great if you're ever bleeding or you've got a cut or an injury, but it's amazing immune support as well. We've been using that just for immune support in our house. Oh my gosh, seriously. You need to be using helichrysum for immune support. So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being on. And I will post the link for the webinar that I'm going to do on Thursday night. And it's just going to be an online class. And please invite people. It'll be fun to have them there. Thank you so much for being on.